Cut the Check podcast, brought to you by Craft Farmer, bringing you weekly motivation, unmatched cultivation tech, and telling you some badass war stories along the way. Man, PTSD is such a real issue in a lot of our lives, and it's something like we don't ever talk about. We don't really share with each other. We just kind of deal with it. And it can be from just experiences that we've been through, whether it's robberies or people getting violent with us, police shaking us down, raids, all these different things have these way of just branding themselves in your mind. And being in the cannabis field and cultivators and just all the stuff that we've been through, there's these situations and things that have happened that we can't escape, and we don't ever talk about them, and we really don't share them or anything. And I myself experience it. You know, you still have these moments where you have these wild dreams of being raided, different things like that. And still to this day, you know, I have those things happen where I'll have a vivid dream that feels so real, and you'll wake up and just, you're shook. You know what I mean? You're just like, it brings you right back to that moment of like what happened, and like just how intense and raw those feelings are, like feeling of fear, and like your heart's pounding, and dude, woke up, heart's racing, you know, worrying, thinking, like realizing that everything's okay and that this isn't happening, you know, and it was just a dream. And man, at this point in my life, thinking about that now is just like, fuck, dude, I mean, obviously you don't ever want to go through any of that shit, but thank God, like I don't ever want to do any of that stuff. I don't want to go through that anymore ever again. And also, even when that kind of stuff happens now, like cannabis is looked at differently than it was, 10 years ago. Everything goes into that, like how they treat you, charges you get charged with, like a lot of that has changed with the time, which is great. It's still happening. There's still raids, there's still prosecutions, there's still all this stuff, but it's much better than it was. And so I'm grateful for that. But the PT, like that stress, like, and then sometimes I feel guilty of even saying, like, thinking to myself, do I have PTSD? Like thinking about all my brothers and sisters who have served and what they've had to deal with and what they've gone through with war and combat. I almost feel guilty thinking like I have some kind of post-stress from a situation like that. But the reality is you do. Whenever someone treats you like that and they come and just fucking grab you and can just manhandle you and chain you up and put you in a cage and you have no control over your life at that moment and you're in their system and their grasp, like that's fucking scary. Like you will never forget that. When you have to serve any kind of fucking jail time or prison time, like that's horrible. Absolutely horrible. I don't think anybody who gets convicted of a drug crime should never serve jail time or prison. If anything, it should be some kind of like camp or something like that. You should never be put in a cell for drug charges. Murder, rape, molestation, everything like that, you should be tortured publicly. Drug charges, you shouldn't have to go through that. It's very damaging on your mind, your memories. You have dreams. It follows you for the rest of your life. There's no clearing it. I just, this has been on my mind the last day, just thinking about this, and thinking about all my friends who've gone through things like this and similar situations and how we don't talk about it. We just live with it, And so I felt like I just wanted to bring it up and make it aware and let you guys know that like I go through that shit and I'm thinking about it. And if anyone's ever in a situation where they need to talk about a situation that they've been in or a way that they're feeling or, any kind of, waking up and having a day like that, like, reach out to people around you. Don't ever harbor that stuff, sit with a friend, smoke a joint, talk about it. You'll feel much, much better. It'll be good for your soul. So try not to harbor those raw feelings and those moments, just telling people like, man, like had this situation happen, and it just feels better kind of getting it out there. You know what I mean? So, and then knowing there's so many other people who've been through that same thing, who's felt those same things, who's I mean, if you've been in cannabis in the last 5 years, there's a really good chance you've had to deal with something like this. And if you never have, God bless you. You're one of the very, very lucky few. I mean, still to this day, I think this resonates with everyone out there who's been in California for a long time, but fucking helicopters get you every time. Everyone can attest to this. If you've grown in Northern California, you hear the chopper, you run for cover, and then you hit your eyes in the sky. Nowadays, we pull out flight radar. Like, I'm so stuck on this. Like, I'm still to this day always pulling up flight radar, looking at like who's above me, seeing the tail number, looking up the tail numbers, even when it has nothing to do and I'm not doing anything wrong. Like, that shit's like programmed in my mind. And even when I was smashing with Red Tail Farms and the beautiful greenhouses and everything that we had going on there, like, even though I knew that I had all my shit set up right and my paperwork right and I was county approved and everything, terrified when the fucking helicopters flew. Terrified. Your mind is just like so jaded from being a cultivator and from running and from hiding, and it's as if like the light is fucking poison, and it's like this ray that'll burn you, and you have to always be in the shadows and you can't be out in the sunlight and when the helicopters are flying. And man, just with the fires and then PG&E having all the private helicopters and flying the lines and flying them low, that just added to it. That just made it even more crazier. I'm gonna get Tree from Tree Star on the podcast. We've been talking, me and him. There's stuff that we want to do together, but one of the most scariest, paranoid, heart attack moments for me, Tree was with me, dude. He was there, and this fucking helicopter must have been flying us for what felt like 15 minutes, and I had never seen a helicopter so close to the ground before. This dude was only like 50 feet in the air, 30 feet above my greenhouse, maybe less. Maybe it was like 15 feet. And that, I was so terrified. Tree was there. He was terrified. We were all terrified, and I will never forget that moment. I'm going to wait to tell that story. I'm going to get him on the podcast, talk about all the dope shit that he's doing, and bring that memory up. But the helicopters are scary, man. And this starts when I was very young, probably like 11 or 12 years old. I grew up in Mendocino County in this amazing, beautiful town, probably one of the nicest places I feel like to grow up and live in Mendocino is Wallala. And I grew up on the ridge of Wallala in the Mendocino, just out of the Mendocino fog belt, the coastline, amazing weather, beautiful forests with beautiful pine and amazing redwoods, and just absolute incredible place to grow up, so close to the ocean. We had the power lines across the street from us that we always used to ride our bicycles on, and people would ride their dirt bikes on. If you guys are familiar with the power lines, it's like this fucking track, and they cleared for the power lines. Back when I was growing up, camp was heavy. It was basically made up of a bunch of law enforcement, and they would do helicopter raids. So the helicopter would come down, drop everybody off. They'd go into these patches in the woods that obviously they had already found from flying and doing different things like that. And they would come in, they would cut everything down, they would wrap it up like in almost like in these big bales, cable it. Helicopter would pull it out, and then they would destroy it somewhere or drop it at a prime landing zone. It's just amazing that I got to experience this and like see the things that I saw, and then ended up in cultivation and growing, just following that. Like cannabis has been so deep in my DNA before I had ever even, years and years before I'd ever even smoked, sold any, or even got into it, and thinking about then, me and my little brother Owen, we would hear them. Like, you can hear when the helicopter's coming down, and we would run over there. And I remember vividly, they had this staging area across the street from our house. And so me and Owen went over there, and there they all are. There must have been like 16 full camo attire, faces painted, assault rifles, bulletproof vests, commander vests over that, like just crazy shit that you never saw, and so we would ride over there, and we literally rode up on them, and if obviously they're like, hey, stay there, blah, blah, blah. But we'd sit there and watch them. We didn't like get escorted out or anything. Like we lived there. We're just watching what they're doing. And like, back then I was so amazed. Like, I'm like, oh, the fucking G.I. Joes are here. Like, this is the shit my G.I. Joe toys are. These guys are right here. Like, there's war going on in my fucking backyard. Like, this is what's going on in my mind. You want to be a G.I. Joe. I'm seeing these guys. And little did I know that the fucking war is going on with like my neighbors and them. I had no idea what they were doing. I just knew that they would remove bales and bales and bales. And we knew it was weed, but, it didn't have any value to us or anything at this time. So, from 11, the helicopters were hitting, and then you started growing, and then you were really fearful of the helicopter, like that sound just in general is just wild. And I've spent so many years like being on the ground, looking up and hiding in the bush, and my fucking binoculars out, and just the last few years, flight radar, looking up tail numbers. But yeah, the fucking helicopter, that's another one. I want everyone to know out there that everyone around you shares these same things. Like you're not alone. When your day's fucked up, when you wake up and you're feeling these things and you're experiencing them, we're all here. We're all experiencing them. We're experiencing these things as a fucking tribe, as a community. We've all lived through it. Like every single person I've met has lived through something like this, have pushed through it, have persevered, and are on their path of continuing to kick ass and take names. So you're not alone. I'm with you. I think about this stuff all the time, and it's good to talk about it. It's good to talk about with the homies. It's good to share the experiences, and I'll keep sharing them with you because mine are laundry list long. So much love to all you guys. Reach out, if you need anything. Thank you for supporting me. I support you.